Subscribe to Factly and hit the bell icon for updates.
भैया मेरा वोटर आईडी कराओ।
लैंड रजिस्ट्रेशन करवा दो।
मेरा स्कॉलरशिप।
फाइल माई ITR। दूसरा फॉर्म लेके आ।
रूल पता है क्या?
रजिस्ट्रेशन कहाँ है?
बाद में आओ, टाइम लगेगा।
लंच के बाद।
Is there a simple way to understand government rules?
Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Decode. In today's episode, we talk about the members of the Indian Parliament, their salaries and perks, the amount of money allocated to them for development and the parliamentary privileges they enjoy, and yes, we'll also talk about their responsibilities. So let's begin with that. Other than playing with religious and caste sentiments, an MP is supposed to help pass laws in the Lok Sabha, ensure that the executive performs its duties, and approve and oversee the revenues and expenditures proposed by the government. In addition to this, Lok Sabha MPs should represent the views and aspirations of the people of their constituency in the parliament. Dear MP, I want constituency-wide holidays for the rest of the World Cup matches. Please represent this humble aspiration of the parliament. And finally, union ministers who are also MPs have to carry out their duties as part of the executive in addition to their legislative duties. Saddled with all these responsibilities, our MPs must be compensated adequately. Don't you think so? MPs are given a monthly salary of 50,000 rupees, which translates to 6 lakh rupees per annum. That's right, 50 grand per month. Now we know why there are so many cases of disproportionate assets against our politicians. MPs also get a daily allowance of 2,000 rupees per day for each day of residence when they are on duty at a place where a parliament session or standing committee meeting is held. So they get pocket money in addition to their salary. Lucky fellows, got to say that. And here's a good measure. The allowance is only given to the MP if he or she signs a register maintained by the Secretariat of the concerned house. In addition to the salary and allowances, MPs are given a constituency allowance, office expense allowance, and travel allowance. Here's a fun fact. Parliamentarians can choose from 24 lunch items from the parliament menu and 18 snacks and sweets at highly subsidized rates. Water and electricity is subsidized too. I thought the salaried class isn't entitled to too many subsidies in our country. Today I learned that a certain class within the salaried class is a class apart. But while it's easy to envy the perks and assume that our MPs have a lot of support staff helping them, that may not always be the case. The office expenses allowance comes to 45,000 rupees a month, where 15,000 rupees is for stationery and 30,000 rupees is the amount earmarked for a personal secretary's salary. So there is no additional allowance for the MP to retain a research assistant who will provide backing to them for the questions they are to ask or the answers they are to give when questions are directed towards them. Without such support, they are left to find data themselves, and because they have several other responsibilities, they may end up collecting information in a hurry and maybe even from sources that are not credible. In the US Senate, every member of the House is entitled to a member's representation allowance, with the aid of which they can employ up to 18 permanent employees. So imagine if our MPs got that kind of research support, maybe the debates and discussions in the parliament would have actual substance rather than simply winking and hugging when one feels like it. To help counter this to some extent, a non-profit organization by the name PRS Legislative started the Legislative Assistance to Members of Parliament, or LAMP, a fellowship through which a few young Indians are chosen to provide research support to MPs. The chosen fellows work full-time with an MP for 1 year. As this helps the MP and provides good policy-making exposure to the youth, it's a win-win situation. Now that we have covered the perks our MPs enjoy and some of the challenges they face, let's get to the part that affects all of us more directly. How much money is allocated to our MPs to spend on us, the people who send them there? The Members of Parliament Local Area Development or MPLADS scheme allows an MP to suggest works of up to 5 crore rupees to the concerned district collector of their constituency. Now, since Rajya Sabha members don't represent a constituency as such, they can recommend works in one or more districts from the state they represent. Likewise, nominated members of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha can recommend works to be taken up in one or more districts from any one state in the country. The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation is the nodal department responsible for the supervision and monitoring of the scheme. The scheme recommends that Panchayati Raj institutions be chosen as the preferred implementation agencies for the program. So rather than choosing an MP who is a lad of your caste or religion, maybe you can see if they have utilized the MPLAD Fund for Development. Sorry, I realized that the pun was very bad. So very quickly moving on, we turn our focus on parliamentary privileges. This is a set of rights and privileges given to the parliament as an institution and to the MPs as individuals so that they can discharge their duties properly. The idea behind this is that these privileges will go a long way in safeguarding the freedom, authority and dignity of the parliament. Some of these privileges are that the courts cannot interfere in the proceedings of the parliament and if there is any alleged irregularity. And members of parliament enjoy immunity in court with respect to anything said by them or any vote cast by them in connection with the proceedings of the House. In this context, you may have heard of breach of privilege. This is when some violation of the parliamentary privilege occurs. For example, in 1983, a visitor to the parliament was held in contempt for shouting slogans and throwing chappals from the visitors' gallery. But imagine, when politicians do silly stuff, we keep joking around saying, "In sabko chappal leke marna chahiye." This guy actually went and did it. For this offense, this gentleman was sentenced to simple imprisonment. In some cases, the offender may simply be sent off with a warning. For example, in 2008, the editor of an Urdu weekly referred to the chairman of the Rajya Sabha as a coward. Even though this constitutes a breach of privilege, the Privileges Committee decreed that it would be better if the House saves its own dignity by not giving undue importance to such irresponsible articles published with the sole intention of gaining cheap publicity. That's very mature of the committee. Kudos to them. But there are also cases where MPs abuse the privilege conferred upon them. Sometimes when journalists and political commentators express unfavorable opinions of MPs or criticize their work, MPs slap cases of breach of privilege against them. But these cases are not always absolutely black or white. For example, Hindustan Times published a report in March 2017 giving wrong figures of certain MPs' attendance records. Some of these members cried breach of privilege. While the errors were avoidable and regrettable, in this case the newspaper did not actually have any negative intent towards the MPs, and so the decision to report this act as a breach of parliamentary privilege is questionable. So what we take away from our discussion today is that despite the enormous perks and privileges they enjoy, our MPs do face challenges in terms of the lack of funds for research staff, and this can get in the way of their work. So we, as voters, should criticize them where we must and condone the lapses that come from this lack of support. And with that, we come to the end of this episode of Decode. On the next episode, we talk about all the sawal jawab that happen in the parliament, meaning the sessions for the asking and answering of questions in the hallowed houses. Until then, like and share this episode, and thank you for watching.